Welcome back. My name is Josh. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Chronos, and this is the Chronos is the reason why we're all here today at this webinar. I've spearheaded the vision and growth since Chronos' founding in 2017, along with my co-founder and childhood friend Louis, who's also in the room today. I'm also a co-founder of an events and community business, Ecom North, and also a board member at the Entrepreneurs Organization of Singapore. And I'm currently obsessed with chess, pickleball, tea, and AI. And as you can tell, a wide variety of things that have caught my attention. And I go through bouts of obsessions and interests based on what is really just tickling my brain at that very moment in time. And so far, these are the things that have caught my attention the most. And I'm just enjoying life and every step of the way. And most importantly, I'm enjoying the work that we do and amazing clients that we work with. And along with me, I've got Louis Teo, COO and co-founder of Chronos, really brains behind everything that we do at Chronos. He's led a team of over 70 people globally, remote, delivered over 500. I think we've actually lost count. It might have been more than 600 now. Successes in email, SMS, and retention globally across e-commerce. He's spearheading today's operations and client strategy at Chronos. And the fun brag is that he's never lost a client at Chronos. He's also an athlete, and a really stark contrast is I failed my 5K runs back in January of last year. Louis runs 5 kilometers every single day just for a warm up, just for fun. Well, that's an exaggeration, but he's a complete opposite to who I am. And of course, we've got the guest of honor, Matt. Matt is the co-founder of Cure Skincare. He's also a serial entrepreneur. This isn't his first rodeo. It's not his first business. He is a through and true expert in branding, consumer products, and business. He scaled Cure Skincare from 0 to 50 million as one of the fastest growing startups in Australia 2024. Built empires for a living. He also coaches others to do the same in his spare time. We'll talk a little bit more about your latest project, Ecom Architect, in a little bit. But Matt, why don't you take us away and give us a little bit more spice to the story here?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the intro. So I've been building businesses and brands since the age of 17. To date, I've probably started about 25 different brands or businesses. Not all of them were as successful as Cure, obviously, but I really started from developing brands for mass retailers, and I used to develop brands in different niches and sell them in mass retailers all over the world until back, I don't know what year it was, but about 25 years old, a major retailer in Australia called Dick Smith, for you guys familiar with retailers in Australia, went bust. They were $1 billion retailer, and I lost like about $5 million overnight. And that was kind of my pivot to go online, because I didn't want to have that vulnerability by just allowing my products to live inside these retail stores. And that's how I took that plunge and started building my brands online from that point after that big loss. And then we formed a digital agency which helps e-com brands in terms of media buying. And yeah, ever since then, we're just building brands in-house and trying to scale them and exit them.
Amazing. Love it. And Louis, kick us off. Tell us about the story behind Chronos and Cure and our partnership from day one.
So I think we started working with Cure a long time ago when Cure first started. It started with a single product. And I think this is back in like 2021. So we started off as a one-off project, right? We like, hey, we got this product, we got this vision. And I think what we started was just kind of a foundational flow build. And once we're done with that, it was a one-off project. I think Christina, Matt, and the team, they went on and silently built the brand. And I think about one year later, they come back with the sales. We're like, what do you do in a year? It's crazy. We're like, okay, it's time to kind of take this thing to the next level. And ever since, I think we've been working together for I don't even know how long, 2-3 years. So it's been a long working relationship. And personally, I've been working on this account for a long time together because it kind of need that level of expertise and speed. So today we have a full team of 4 to 5 people working just for Cure on all things email and SMS. And it's been fun. And it's always really exciting to see a brand grow that fast. So there's that.
Now, I was just saying that I can see why Louis has never lost a client. He's probably one of the best account managers I've ever dealt with in my life, for sure.
Love that. High praise.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Matt, tell us, how is Cure winning? Now, the category that you have chosen to compete in, beauty, and specifically teetering on the edge of medical equipment, beauty products, hyper competitive, incredibly competitive, super hard to stand out, let alone build a brand that transcends beyond a single product. What do you do differently? How's Cure winning in this market?
Yeah, so obviously it's a complex question, but I'll make it as simple as possible. It comes down to the product, and there's two different facets to it. I think that when you're trying to grow a brand at the rate that we are, or a product at the rate that we are, you always need a product that is trending in the market. Because if you're a first mover, the price is too high. And we came at the right time where there was enough education in the market around red light therapy, and there were some existing brands. So what we came out to do was really innovate and try and develop a mask that has not been built in the industry. And we did that via first quality, just in terms of its build, but second of all, by creating a unique feature with its customizable treatment that no one else had in terms of being app driven. And then really from that, it creates a certain flywheel, enabled us to get probably the most high leveraged influencers and doctors in the market because of our product. And because we spent so much time and energy into developing a very unique, high quality product, then these other derms, online derms or authorities, wanted to associate themselves with us because they saw the level of investment that we created into the product, and they wanted to associate their name with the product. Where I think a lot of other brands were trying to capitalize on this trend by doing a white label product from China and sticking their logo with it on it. And one thing that I noticed with previous brands, that influencers today are a lot more savvy than they were in the past. They understand that any paid partnership they do is a direct reflection of their actual brand. So they're a lot more cautious in terms of doing deals, and they want to make sure they're partnering with the right people, the right founders, the right brand. And having a world-class product will do 80 to 90% of your heavy lifting, I think.
Matt, how did you find a conviction to invest that initial capital to develop a product that stands out, that's superior, versus taking the route of white labeling and going down the path that
Yeah.
most would take?
So I've been doing this since the age of 20, and a lot of it's just based on gut feel, based on what I use and believe in. So Christina was often sending me little instructions, because I used to live in Croatia, she used to live in Australia, sending me instructions on what skincare routines to use, morning and night, all that kind of stuff. And then she came to visit me in Croatia, and she's like, oh, the skincare stuff, the routines I sent you must be working. And I said, well, to be honest, I'm not using any of it. She's like, what are you using then? Because your skin looks great. And then I pointed to this big red light machine you can see behind me here. And then she's like, oh my God, that's amazing. I want one. And I said, well, it costs like $5,000 to $10,000. And that's when her heart sunk. And that's when I thought, there is something in this. Bring these clinical treatments to home at affordable prices, because not everyone can afford to spend $5,000 to $10,000 on a massive red light therapy stand. So I had a lot of conviction in the technology because I've been using it myself. That was backed by, Google Trends, other brands going into the space. So that was enough information and data for me to move forward. And to be honest, when I first looked at the brand, I never thought, not that I didn't think, I never looked at it as I was going to be first order profitable with the mask. I almost looked at the mask as a loss leader into selling them perishables. Because I'm not going to be able to compete with just selling another skin cream or whatever else. I'm like, I'm just going to go hard selling the mask as a loss leader and then sell them skincare on the side. That was my initial play. Now that evolved as we developed a brand story around the mask, and we created a whole mission around, bridging that gap between, the clinics and also the people at home. Because what we found is that the narrative that really stuck home for myself and Christina was that, beauty is a right. It shouldn't be a luxury. And we wanted to break down those socioeconomic barriers and make everyone feel confident in their own skin by bringing these clinical treatments to home. And that's where we really went really hard on the devices, and we stopped thinking about the perishable items as much in terms of topical creams. But yeah, that's where my first train of thought was. And that's why I had high conviction. I'm like, if I can just break even on the mask, I can sell them the creams, I'm still winning.
And how accurate was that assumption? Was that wrong? How's that changed over time?
It was pretty inaccurate because our whole brand DNA now today is based on devices, and all we do is
Yeah.
devices, and we're innovating on all the devices. Like we're going to, hair growth in a couple months, end of this year.
Mm.
We've, I think, the best hair growth unit in the world. We've developed a line of water filters at home with some patented technologies. We'll probably the first at home micro needling kit with the micro infusion. So everything we're trying to do is more, as I mentioned, in terms of the brand story, bring clinical treatments to home, and the serums and stuff that we have, maybe some eye patches, are more just retention products. They're not really acquisition products for us, and we don't really focus on them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You have built incredible relationships with some of the leading influencers and thought leaders in the dermatology space, in the
Yeah.
in the relevant sectors. Um, Dr. Shah, for example, derm doctor, as we
Mm,
call him.
mm.
How do you think about striking the balance between building brand equity, brand storytelling versus promotional selling, discounts, promos in your marketing communication approach? And how has that
Yeah.
shifted over time?
Yeah, it's going to be slightly controversial, I'm about to say. I think people romanticize over their brand way too much, way too much. And I've had internal conflict with the team and also Christina about this,
Mm,
about this narrative, because they're very protective over the brand. But I think that people, founders care about their brand a lot more than everyone else does. Everyone else has their own life to live, and their perception of your brand is not what you think it is. And at the start, you need to fight for profit. You need profit in order to be able to run the business. You need profit in order to innovate and develop new products, better products. And that comes from a lot of direct response advertising. If you're focusing on branding too early on the piece, you're not going to generate the profits in order to build the brand. And for us, my non-negotiables were world-class products where we don't skimp on the product development at all in terms of product quality, the costs, everything else. Like there's absolutely not a single shortcut is made, and we actually over-index on that. High quality images, high quality, brand presentation, and top authority figures. Now, price and promotions to me, if we've got those three in line, doesn't signify that I'm not building a brand. It doesn't signify I'm downgrading the brand by any means. If anything, I'm
mm,
making the brand more value. I'm creating a valuable brand. Because I think also with the promotions, consumers forget, and we forget how much as humans we forget. For example, Black Friday, I think it's a good time to increase your prices, not really decrease it. You should have stronger promos during the year instead of Black Friday, because Black Friday, everyone's ready to buy. Buying signals are out, people got the money out, they've been waiting all year, right? The cash is there. Whatever deal you have on that day, they're going to assume that that's your best deal. So you want to go more
mm.
aggressive on the times of the year where the market's not as receptive and the buying signals are lower. And I'm telling you now, I've run multiple tests in this. You can run a promo that's like, let's say, 70% off in June. The same customer will come back to the store Black Friday, will be 40% off, and they will completely forget about the 70% off in June. They don't remember
Mm,
what the percentage was on the website that day. Like, how can
right.
they? Think about your buying behavior and stuff, how much you're visiting websites. You're recalling every single sale price and, what price it was back then, 4 months ago. Like, there's no chance, A very, very small percentage of people, if anyone. So my perception of that question, if I was going to wrap it all up, is that do whatever you need to do to get the sale by not compromising the quality of the product or the service that you deliver. But having promos frequently or discounting, especially if you can do it in a bundled way, which we do, we don't try and discount singular products, try and value add with multiple products. I think that's completely fine. If you want to take another amazing example, just go look at AG1, one of probably the biggest supplement brands in the world. Just
Hmm.
go look how they started. Go look at their first 0 to 50 or 0 to 100 million. They were the hardest direct response company you can possibly imagine. If you
Oh
look at the
yeah.
landing pages, the sales pages, like it was nothing similar to what they are today, right? Like they're a completely different brand today, but they use the profits from the early on market activities to build the brand. And I think that's important to note, especially founders today who, are bootstrapped. They don't have, the capacity to do. So that'd be my advice.
Louis, I think there's also, on top of that, the nuances that comes with retention, balancing between just a hard sell off the gate while speaking to the to consumers and meeting them where they're at? How do we draw that balance in email and the channels that we run?
Cool. Before I answer the question, I just remember a quote when Matt was speaking. I remember a quote. I think it's from Nick Shackelford. There's no brand when you're below 10 million. For
Yeah.
most brands, they're like, hey, they're hyper obsessive about what Matt
Even
mentioned.
not even 100. I don't think you're a
Not even
brand unless you're
100.
over 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
Yeah.
something for you guys to think about. Okay, so kind of when it comes to, so I'm doing all things email and SMS, so I can only speak from that perspective. And obviously, email and SMS, best place to send discounts. So, but what do we do, right? When it comes to how much discount we decide to give? I think two big parts. We A/B test a lot. We have a big list. So we can always run very controlled A/B tests to kind of determine where is kind of the sweet spot when it comes to discount. When we run a sale, we do an A/B test between two discounts. Maybe one has higher discount, higher AOV, whichever the case is. And if it works, we put it into the flow so that we can kind of automate that. But every discount, every sale always come with a, what do you like to call it, education, value adding, or content piece that we try to kind of pair them together so that you're not just selling on discount alone, you're selling on value. And I think that one of the big things that we've done is that we collect a lot of zero-party data for our list. Pre-purchase, we collect it. Post-purchase, we collect it. And what that means is that when we send out an email, we can tailor that based on what someone is telling us. For example, one of the biggest things that we collect is, hey, what's your number one skin goal? What's your number one skin problem, right? Businesses exist to solve a problem. So when you talk to your customers, if you can kind of tailor the message accordingly, that'll be best. For example, we have acne group, we have wrinkles group. They all have very, very different concerns. So if I send out a sale email, if you can tailor that messaging for the particular subset of people, it's a bit more effort, but we've tested it over and over again. The conversions are so much better. So that's one thing to consider, right? Every discount, try to pair it with an angle, I'd say. And your angle comes from data as well, right? The more you know about your customers, when it comes to email and SMS, the more you can tailor your message accordingly, and your promotions will be so much better. It's beyond just discounting. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think a good transition here is the evolution of Cure and a brand like Cure over time as it matures. I at least from my point of view, I'm looking at Cure as a fast growing scale up, going through evolutions at a much faster pace than what most companies would experience. How has a retention strategy evolved over time beyond discounting, and how are we thinking about that as potential value propositions to drive behavior conversions that still maybe retain a little bit more profits and
Yeah,
protect the bottom line over time?
I mean, it's been essential for us because when we're selling these devices, obviously the LTV play isn't there, right? We're trying to be
Yeah, exactly.
first order profitable. And as anyone knows, the more you start spending, your efficiency decreases and your customer acquisition costs go up. So if we don't have the ability to cross sell and scale horizontally and create new products and new categories, then that's the only way we're going to win, because we'll be able to increase our LTV. So that's how important, the email and SMS is for us, to increase our LTV so we can scale up, because our efficiency is decreasing as we're spending more.
Louis, anything to add there?
No, I guess there's usually two types of LTV, right? There is replenishment and there's cross-sell. And different products you need to look at your data very differently, right? Most people log into Shopify and they look, what's my returning customer rates? But if you have product from, like, we have the LED mask, there isn't really a replenishment built in. So the way we look at LTV for that product, it's a bit different, right? How many percent of people, once they buy the LED mask, how fast are we able to cross-sell them into another products we have in the ecosystem? But on the other hand, the micro infusion device, it's a very replenishable product, right? Then the way to look at success is, okay, when it's time to replenish, how many people are replenishing? So that's our job at the email SMS side. and retention side in general, which is obviously reporting back to Matt, hey, this is where we are, and this is what we are going to do to get the numbers back up on a quarter-to-quarter basis. But I'm just gonna say that in general, I think I agree with Matt when it comes to product quality. Your product quality is the number one reason why people are gonna come back. If it's not good, no matter how many email, SMS you do, it's not gonna move the needle as much. So
Yep.
I can advise you on product quality, Matt can't.
Okay, I like that. Now I'm going to take a bit of a sidestep here on product development. How do you think about product development roadmaps and the investment of capital behind those products? Is there a play there? Do you think of like reinvesting a certain percentage of profits into next product, or do you think about like some kind of a cash flow play on pre-selling? What are your strategies there?
It's a good question. So when I advise and coach other founders, I always try and convince them to run the business as profitably as possible when you're at the low seven figures. Why? Because you need the profit to invest back into product development. And I advise them to invest all their profits into product development immediately. We started working on version 2.0 of all our products the second year straight away, because now we're getting iterative feedback from the marketplace. We understand what to improve, and we go straight into 2.0 because we want to be the leaders. We want to be consistently innovating. And when I look at Q as a company, as a brand, I look at us as a product development company, first and foremost. The marketing stuff we do well, sure, but it all stems from our product development. And without our product development and innovation, then we don't exist in the marketplace. We don't have the growth that we do. So that's how important product development is for us. And when we build a brand, we're thinking 10, 15, 20 years out. We don't want the profit now. We want to reinvest it back in. And for anyone that's even looking to exit a brand, I'm telling you now, a lot of PE companies or whoever's looking to buy the brand will look at how much you're investing back into product development. If you're super profitable, they'll look at that as a negative because they don't think that's realistic. Because they know if they're going to buy a brand that's going to be a legacy brand that's going to last 20, 30 years, you have to have a budget for R&D. You have to have a budget for product development if you're going to be there for the next 20, 30 years and build a real brand or a real company. So these are all little signals of someone that's actually trying to build a brand, is how much they're investing back into product development and making a better product, because product is king. So I advise anyone that has any sort of brand to invest all their products back into product development as early as possible.
That is all right. That's non-conforming to say the least.
Yeah.
Very unconventional.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's also pretty ballsy to be willing to do that and to have the guts to say, I'm gonna take everything that I have and put it into V2. What is that base layer conviction that you have to know that this business has a 5, 10, 20, 50-year runway?
I mean, if you don't have the conviction, you shouldn't be in the business to begin with. And I think that at that point, you have more conviction than ever because you have proof of concept, you're in the market, you're getting sales, you have concrete data from your customers, which we create like a VIP community inside of QR, which they get the first prototypes, they get all the questionnaires, and then we work with them with like 4,000 or 5,000 people in that group. So now when we're creating a product, we have 5,000 people to ask and give us feedback about what they want. So if anything, I have more conviction than ever at that point that this new product is going to work. Where before, it was strictly hypothetical. Where now, it's not. So yeah, conviction is higher than ever because I have insights from the customers that have given me money about my products and my brand, that what they want. And if I give them what they want, it'll sell itself.
Love that. Okay, quick pivot back. First purchase optimization. So I want to talk about products that have a natural impact on LTV, lifetime value.
Yep.
What are these gateway, thinking about like gateway drugs, gateway products, right? What are the gateway products that or rather, what are the commonalities of gateway products that you've seen done well? Maybe not just in Cure, but in your other businesses as well.
What do you mean by gateway products?
Like the products that lead to a higher LTV.
Normally ones that solve a problem. You can create products, based on hope, dreams, and desires, or ones that fix pain problems that consumers have. And if you can solve a problem for a consumer, then normally that has a strong LTV. And products that are used daily. So if the product's used daily
Mm,
and it solves a problem, then that normally transcends into a high LTV product. And the bigger problem or the bigger pain you alleviate, the more someone's willing to give you. That's pretty much how money is exchanged. Money is exchanged when value is created. Value is created when pain's alleviated, and pain's alleviated when you solve a problem.
I love that. I love that. Louis, do you have any other thoughts with our other clients or any other examples you've seen?
No, not really, to be honest. But the highest repeat purchase rate, I don't know if it's even answering the question. It's a supplement brand with a 70% return customer rate. They exist in it's amazing. They exist in a niche that, like Matt said, they really solve a very particular subset of problem that even without email and SMS, at least something not super developed. When I walked into their analytics, I was like, what's going on? Why is this magical brand with 70% repurchase rates? And they can claim that they were the number one product in their category. So
Yeah,
I think it's
and
an
I,
aspiration for all of us.
yeah, and I think it's a good point to hit on home what Lewis said then. Like, pick a niche and go as narrow as you can. Because the more narrow you can go in the niche, that you can add more value to that niche. And the more value you can add to the niche, the higher the LTV is. And I think, a slight issue we have with QO is we've gone very broad, which makes it very hard to give so much value to a particular customer. But the brands I see do very well. They've hyper niche down and they can add value to the customer in so many different ways, which then ultimately ends up with a high LTV.
Love that. Let's talk about going multi-channel and the kind of connections between these channels. What are the biggest challenges or roadblocks you've seen in creating cohesive experiences across different platforms and channels as a consumer? And what kind of investments have delivered the best ROI?
Not really understanding that question.
It's okay. That's on me. Let
Give it to
me
me. Give it to me
let,
again.
let me do that again. So, what are the biggest roadblocks or challenges in creating a cohesive customer experience across multiple channels and touch points? So think social, search, email, influencers. How do you create a consistent experience
Yeah, I
throughout?
mean, maybe the reason why I struggle to answer the question is because we haven't struggled to do that. I think we've just been very consistent in terms of our messaging from day one, in terms of our creative strategy and the way we present our products. And we just had a system which we replicated across all platforms. So the message was always pretty, cohesive when we just had the system that we created and we replicated between every platform.
How do you insist on that with external partners like influencers and people that you may not have
Yes,
the
so
control over?
we have a creative brief that we give them and give them guidelines of what to say. So we create a system in terms of guidelines or how we want to position our brand, the words we want them to say, the words we don't want them to say, and then we monitor that closely throughout all channels. It's really just creating, an SOP, a checklist of things that you want to happen across all channels, and then make sure someone is spot checking that to make sure it's consistent.
I know that in retention, Lewis, we have beyond email and SMS, there are also alternative channels that we operate on, from experiments on AI voice to postcards to other stuff. What's your approach to keeping things consistent?
So let me before I go into the email SMS part, let me tell you from a third party perspective. In a sense, we are a service agency working with Cure, right? How do we know exactly what tone of voice to use? Two things. One, I think Matt and Christina has a very clear brand voice and brand mission. And the second part is it's gonna be, pardon me for the word, the team is very insistent on it. I was about to use another word. They're very
Yeah, yeah,
insistent.
yeah.
They're
They
very
are.
insistent about
They
it,
are.
right?
You can use that other word. You can use that other
They're very
word.
for the bad word and anal about it in a good
Yeah.
way. That everyone they will, I don't think it's a bad way. They are,
You can say you hate us
no,
sometimes. It's fine. We get
yeah,
it.
they insist on it, but they are
Yeah.
not like, hey, you're bad. They're like, okay, let's have a meeting to realign things again, right? This is what's good, that's what's bad. They actually take the time to align with all the parties on like, hey, this is why this is good, this is why this is bad. And it's at that particular sweet spot where we can kind of innovate on the messaging, but at the same time, they will tell us what they like and what they don't. And I think that's why, and that's what I guess you guys have to do, which is it always starts at a very strong brand and insistence. I think over time, people are like, yeah, let them do their thing. With Cure, there's never that. We are always co-working together on that when it comes to the branding side of things. So if you guys have your internal team or external parties that you work with, have that one person that keep insisting that. For example, Christina still joins our weekly meeting every single week when it comes to all things email and SMS.
I wish you
To kind of tell us, yeah,
didn't.
to tell us what's good, what's not, to point out the little things when it comes to staying consistent. So yeah, that's what I would say for branding, tone of voice in general. It's something you have to work on all the time, and not let go. Yeah.
Love that. Okay. Now let's talk about data. Data-driven personalization, that's kind of a hygiene factor for email and SMS. By default, we have to be a lot more personalized in our approach. But on a business level, uh, overarching, how do we think about collecting zero-party data and consumer preferences to kind of instruct the business on where to go? Do you take that as inputs for product development as well? And what's your strategy around customer data? Matt, you
Yeah.
gonna go first?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're big on post-purchase surveys. We're big on creating that community. And the more inputs we get into the system, the better outputs we can create. And I think we're using AI a lot now to analyze these inputs, but we're trying to get inputs about everything in terms of our marketing messaging, what's resonating, the feedback in terms of why the customers are buying, then also feedback once they're using it, what's their experience of it, what they would change. So I think at all parts of the funnel and all parts of the process, you want to get inputs into the system so you can change things and create a better output.
Louis?
So whatever data that Matt collects, and we also collect on the email SMS side, our pop-up collects what someone's skincare concern is, there's post-purchase survey, and don't let it be a one and done thing. Every quarter we send out a campaign to ask people, hey, and there's so many surveys that we send out, and the good thing is we do use them. For example, every quarter we send out a survey asking them about their experience. Has your skin goals changed? And if that changed, their profile, the number one skin goal metric, or rather property in their Playbook profile, gets automatically updated. If someone missed their purchase cycle, for example, they bought the device and they didn't buy within the 120-day cycle that we thought that most people would repurchase, same thing, we send them a survey asking them what's their number one, or why they're not coming back to us. And if it's a form where we can import the data back into Klaviyo, we do that. And the important thing is using those data for your email automations and also campaigns. So all of our flows for Cure, it's kind of broken down into two types of personalization that you guys can use for a brand as well. First of all, first time versus returning customer, that's a very easy personalization that you guys can do. That the way you talk to them should be very different. For first timers versus returning customer, the discount you give them should be very different. Second, and we have seen this trend for campaigns as well, which is whatever problems you're solving for them, be very specific. So for us, it's, for example, wrinkles, acne, and dark spots. It's very different for different, your audiences all have very different problems. And when I say this, what we found is that when we send very generic, general skincare content to our entire list, the unsubscribe rates are generally higher when we send very targeted content, which is just laser focused on what a person's number one skincare problem is. So our post-purchase flow works the same way. Okay, email 1, email 2 onwards, what email you receive really depends on what pain points you have. It's very targeted based on whatever data we were able to collect from post-purchase surveys and things like that. So use those. That's how we personalize when it comes to the email and SMS side of things.
Love that. And these are often misses, and they're easy misses, traps, if you will. And in fact, these are so common. I've collated them into a cheat sheet, 10 traps that you are probably falling victim to in retention. And if you want a copy of this cheat sheet, all you got to do is scan this QR code or go to bit.ly cure-retention-cheat sheet. We'll pop this in the chat as well later on, and you'll be receiving this in your email as well. A lot of stuff we've been talking about today, and then some is included in there, as well as kind of what to do with those traps. What's next, right? Okay, now coming back to our panel here. So we talked about data, we talked about product development strategy, thinking about the channel experiences. How do you think about timing the second, third, fourth purchases in the context of, well, there's a natural replenishment cycle that goes on for replenishable products, but there's also cross-selling. How do we think about selling that second, third, fourth, fifth product?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably more of a Lewis question than it is me, to be honest. But I think, understanding the consumer's consideration window is important for your marketing, especially as being a more expensive product. I think overall for our whole store, the buying consideration is probably 34% of people purchase on day one, and then even 30% of people purchase after 3 months of knowing the brand. So then we have to try and be considerate of these consideration windows and try and align our marketing to coincide with when the buying consideration windows are, and understand that when we potentially are doing top of funnel activity, that a large percentage of the audience won't convert till down the track, and we have to make sure we re-engage them on other channels as well as SMS and email.
Love it. Louis?
There's so many ways to talk about this. I'll give you things that people usually don't do well when it comes to retention. I think that usually is not part of the conversation when it comes to retention, but they're levers. They're big leverage point. When you fix them, your retention will lift without you putting in too much effort. First of all, your product. So I'm going to leave that. Your product quality has to be good. But on the email and SMS side, the first thing that people usually don't kind of ignore is a list building, right? It's fundamental. But if you guys go back today, take a look at lists, and you go and do a quick segmentation to find out how many percent of your paying customers, okay, so let's separate prospects and paying customers. How many percent of your paying customers are subscribed to email and SMS? Most brands will find that the number for email is like less than 50%. For SMS, probably single digit. So think about it. If there is such a small part of your paying customer base are subscribed to your marketing communications, and obviously email and SMS is cheaper than media buy in general, then whenever a sale goes out, whenever retention messaging goes out, it goes out to less than, for SMS, less than 10% of your customer base. So this is a part that's often overlooked. So you guys should have specific strategy when it comes to list building, especially for your customers, right? Where do customers usually opt in for email and SMS? At a checkout page. This is where you need to optimize. For example, we have a little checkbox that says, hey, if you subscribe to SMS, you get a free product X for your next order. Not only we get marketing consent, SMS marketing consent is very strict. We also kind of bait them for the second purchase, right? Because we're like, you're going to get this free product for your second purchase. And that's how we are trying to build out our SMS list. I didn't think of this myself. I learned this from Dr. Squatch. We're like, oh, that's actually a very good idea to kind of dangle a discount for your next purchase. So this building is kind of fundamental, at least on the email and SMS side. If you fix that, every email and every SMS that you send out, you're going to get so much more returning customer revenue, especially people are waiting for discounts. So I think that's one part. And on the data side of things, I think I kind of mentioned it a little, the numbers that you want to watch out for. Break down your returning customer rate by collections or by product type. And there are certain products that's only meant for cross-selling, for them to maybe a loss leader that cross-sells into your ecosystem. And there are products that has replenishment built in. And if the number is not where you want to be, then you have to think about, okay, why are people not coming back at the 4th-month mark? What are the things that I can do to improve that? And one of the last thing I'm going to say is that you need to do a lot more than you think when it comes to email and SMS to win someone back. Most people are like, oh, I
Yep.
sent one email, people should come back. No, it takes a lot more education to do that. So our post-purchase cycle really spans across the entire, from day 1 to day 120. And especially when it comes to cross-sell, most people are not going to accept a second product that easily. They really need to know what this product is about. And when the sale comes, you convert them, right? You guys run software sales all the time, most of the time. So that's my few pro tips here.
Yeah, and don't be scared to send emails. I think a lot of brands are scared to send a lot of emails. But if you're not sending 4 emails a week, I think you're missing out. What are we sending
That's
now?
true.
3 or 4?
5 to 6.
Five,
So
six,
Matt
here
is
we
the one
go.
that pushed me to send.
Yeah.
Matt is the one that pushed me to send a lot. I used to
Yeah.
kind of have this like, we shouldn't send that much. But
Yeah.
I think we did an A/B test and kind of like an incremental analysis, and we do learn that actually the number of repurchase rates do increase to the number of emails that people are receiving. So credits to Matt for that. Last year, he's like, hey, why are we sending more? I was like, okay, let me try that, and it actually worked out. So more
Yeah.
emails, SMS.
I
Yeah,
think
100%.
you have to have the belief that if they want to opt out, they will opt out, and if they want to opt out, then they shouldn't be on your list anyway. So yeah, don't be scared. Send more emails. It's purely profit when they convert, which is fantastic, and it'll just fuel your growth on other channels.
Absolutely. And hey, if you're struggling with that, if you need more resources and you need more help, talk to us. We'll help.
Yeah,
We'll figure out a way.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, we could do email in house if we wanted to, but to be honest, when you're growing a brand, I don't think it makes sense to do email in house because there's a lot of other complexities that you should be learning, and email is a very specific skill set that you need, and you need multiple team members to run it, and you don't have the luxury to you don't have the luxury to have full-time team members in each of those seats to have enough work to do email marketing. So you're in this like weird space. That's why agencies I think are fantastic for email, and while we'll continue to use Chronos because they've been fantastic, but I think just because we're better off spending our time, energy, and resources in other departments in the business, that's far more incremental to us than having to worry about a whole email team because a lot goes into it.
100%. Now, guys, for you listening out there, if you've got questions, you can pop them in chat or you can pop them in the Q&A section down below. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for these questions to stream in, Matt, I want to talk about your new project, your ecom architect. I'm super excited about that. You're kind of spilling the beans behind the secrets that you've brewed over the many years of entrepreneurship and building brands and businesses. Talk to me about that. What's the thought process? Why now?
Yeah, I think at this stage of my life, if we're talking about a bit about like a philosophical journey, I'm at the stage where I need to transcend myself and have a bit of impact, and I want to help the next generation of ecom brands really scale. And I want to unpack everything that I've learned over the last 15 years, everything that I've learned from all the mentors, all the brands that I've built, and really help brands go from 6 figures a year to 7 to 8 and potentially 9 once we get there as well. From every facet, I'm talking about this is like your A to Z, from finance to email to creative strategy, media buying, operations, product development, tax, you name it, it's going to be in this kind of program that we're developing. And we're going to have people like yourselves in there as mentors that you can use in every facet of ecom. So it's like your one-stop shop where you can get mentored from every single discipline in e-commerce for people who've done it before, so you can skip all the mistakes like I've had to do, and essentially just grow the brand in a lot less chaotic and stressful way than I've had to grow it in the past. So I'm kind of creating a program that I wish was there for me in all these years. And yeah, I'm extremely excited about it. It's going to be at a very low price point because it's all about impact for me. It's not about profit. And I think the first 100 brands that are going to get into the program will get grandfathered in at 50% off. So if you're interested in the program, if you want to know more, if you want to know more, just find me on Instagram, Matt Orlich or Matt Orlich, and just DM me the word Chronos, and I'll make sure you get grandfathered in at 50% off. And we'll see if you guys are a fit, but literally we're going to uncover everything, all the playbooks, all the systems, all the processes, like the whole operating system for your ecom business. We're just gonna like hand it to you and then coach you one-on-one. You have live calls with me. You have live calls with mentors like Josh and Louis as well, hopefully, or someone from their team to really guide you on that path. So ecom can be what you always dreamt of, you know, that beautiful business, that freedom to make money while you're sleeping and everything else, which for a lot of people it isn't. It's highly stressful and it shouldn't be. So I'm hoping that we can help you guys architect the ecom brand of your dreams and show you from A to Z how to do it.
So, and I love that. Instagram. We will be we'll be popping those over on email as well. Okay, a couple of questions coming in here right now. Let's see. All right, from Tessa. Question from Matt. We are from Croatia, already selling. We've got a new skincare product idea, but would love to go out from Croatia. So where to go in the whole wide world on budget, real budget here, because of Croatia. Matt probably knows what this means. You want to take that, Matt? What do
Yeah,
you think?
I mean, try and get proof of concept in your market first. You know, if you can't sell the product in your own market first, you're probably going to struggle going onto the worldwide market because you're going to have a lot more competition and resources. And once you generate some proof of concept in your own market and you have some profits, it's not highly expensive to enter new markets. You can stage it. And with Shopify markets today, you can start selling in a different market pretty much overnight. But that'd be my suggestion. You know, get proof of concept in your market first, get that to work, and then in order to launch in a new market, it really doesn't require a lot of cash if you do it strategically. You just need a landing page, a good offer, and some winning creatives.
I like that. All right. One from Sharaf. I'm from Sri Lanka. Do you think I've got a chance?
Right, no worries,
Oh,
Tessa.
I think 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's people in Sri Lanka who have multi-million-dollar ecom brands.
One,
I could
a
get,
thousand
I
percent. Yeah.
could guarantee, could guarantee it. So,
Yep. I personally do know a couple multi-millionaire e-commerce founders from Sri Lanka. Now, just kind of close things off while we wait for more questions to come in. This one's for both Matt and Lewis. What do you think the future holds for e-commerce in the context of, I think we're experiencing a shift in world order. What used to be free trade good, free trade everyone, to now everyone's a little bit more protectionist, a little bit more for yourselves, with tariffs being a buzzword going on. How are you seeing the future of e-commerce and consumer?
I think it's an extremely exciting time because of the introduction of AI. I think ecom brands will be able to operate with far less overheads, and it's going to remove the barrier of entry to enter any marketplace, sell anywhere in the world with very little resources. So yeah, I think the future is bright, and I think it's only going to grow and only going to expand.
I like that. Some optimism. That's great.
Yeah.
Lewis?
I really don't know. It's uncertain times. Obviously, I talked to a lot of a lot of business owners on this. This whole tariff thing has been going up and down every single day. So I guess I try not to be distracted by that, although obviously I'm trying to see what type of help I can provide to our clients here and try to understand how they're navigating this whole situation. But like Matt, like Josh, a big part of my time is now also as exciting as the tariff situation, the AI world. There's just so many things, and I'm not afraid to replace myself if it ever comes. So, but they're just moving so fast. So it's still, I would say it's still kind of in the early stages of how we can use AI in ecom and especially CRM in general. It's still not super built out yet. So every day is a fun day.
100%. I've replaced a big part of my decision making and data analysis with AI. It's got to be like 75% of the way there, and I'm kind of alley-oop 25% for the rest. It saves me a lot of time. A lot of that initial data and info gathering stage has been wiped away with AI, which is awesome. I'm really excited to see what will come next. But this optimism is nice. Breath of fresh air. All right, final two questions, and then we'll wrap up. We've got a question from Maisie. What's up, Maisie? Also a longtime client, Maisie. Is your Matt, this is probably for Matt, is your sales channel only online, brand.com? Do you have any other sales platforms? Do you have any other sales channels that are not online? And I'll add in a little bit of spice there. What's the right time to go beyond a single channel like Shopify into Amazon and whatnot?
It's very hard for me to give a prescription without context. It's going to be different for brand to brand. We're currently on Amazon, not doing much, and we're predominantly online on our .com, and we're on some online retailers around the world. Even online retailers, I think that they're very good for soaking up your traffic as well, and your brand. So sometimes they cannibalize your own sales in that market. So the way I would strategically try and use online retailers is go to markets where maybe you don't have a 3PL in, and allow them to ship directly from that market. But I think until you get to tens of millions of dollars in revenue, you shouldn't even think about other channels.
Interesting. So I think this coincides with just advice and lessons I've learned from people selling in the US, especially. The market is just so big and so broad that you could make a killing, like a 9-figure plus business, work on just a single channel, a single source of
Yeah,
traffic, a single country.
100%. I don't want to go into too much details. We're going to do it in the Ecom Architects program, but there's something called the theory of constraints, and I think people have to understand that strategy is just a fancy word for prioritization. And I see a lot of ecom brands trying to do too much with too little resources, and they get nowhere. So even thinking about these things just shows that there's a lack of focus in the business, where you should be pretty much selling to one avatar on one channel, on one website, one funnel, until you get to hundreds and thousands of dollars a month. And you could even get to $10 million a year just doing that one strategy. And then once you max out that, then look elsewhere.
Love it. Right on time. What is one piece of advice that you'd like to share with the world and people listening, both Louis and Matt, whenever you're ready?
I think at times like this where it's slightly uncertain, you can't control what you look at, but you can always control what you see. And stories are the operating system of the mind. So consistently interpret the information that's in front of you in a way that's going to cultivate a growth mindset. The power resides within you to control the narrative. And what is right is as easily as available as what is wrong. And if you consistently able to craft the narrative and control what you actually look at, control what you see, then you'll be able to get out of any situation with optimism.
Love it. Louis?
Matt gives you the really good stuff. I'll give you the email and SMS stuff. Um, just in general, and Matt just mentioned it early on, send more email, send more SMS. You can reap a lot more than you imagine. I think a lot of people have this,
Good.
I'm going to call it outdated idea of like, yeah, if I send, I will destroy my list and stuff like that. No, you won't.
Yeah.
No.
Email, look at email also as a way of, it's not a form of ads in the purest sense, right? And I don't think a lot of people clear out their email inbox every day, at least their personal inbox. And there's just so many promotional emails that if someone signs up for your email, they most likely sign up for a dozen brands email. So you got to stand out in a way, and that means being in their inbox every day. So if you look at it from that angle, don't be afraid to send too many, to send more emails, I said in general. Yeah.
Love it. All right, and I'll close off. My advice is take care of yourselves. You can't build an amazing world-class business if you're not taking care of yourself first. You're the driver, and if the driver's sick and weak and frail and dehydrated, you're not going to go anywhere. So drink lots of water, stay safe. And thank you so much for tuning in live, all of you. And for those of you listening into a recording or a video, thank you as well. Matt at Matt Orlick on Instagram, very easy. You'll find him, go reach out to him. And if you want to find out more about Chronos, head on to our website, chronos.agency. Thank you all, and see you all very soon.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you so much for joining me. And
No
Louis,
worries.
thank you.
Thanks, boys. That was fun.
We'll chat soon.
Chat,
Cheers.
yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.